I want to redefine the way hunters are thought of. I want mainstream news, media, social, Hollywood to change the way they talk about hunting, to have them rethink the way they vilify hunters. We no longer are the fat, lazy, trophy hunting, grip and grin assholes that we get portrayed as from these groups. There has been a movement over the last couple years. We are fit. We are smart. We know more about the outdoors, the impact of our actions, more about the species than anyone else. People and companies like Cameron Hanes, Adam Greentree, Mountain Ops, Steven Ranella, and Meat Eater TV are knocking down walls for this industry and shedding light in the positive impact of hunting. But they are only a few. Hard truth. We have to continue to change the way we act and educate and share our passion with others. All of us who consider themselves hunters. Be smart about it and look up to the people above who are changing the way the world views hunting. We, all hunters, need to step up and do the same. Hunting is my passion, and I'll die trying to educate the world in regards to the many benefits it has. And with that being read, I want to welcome you back to the 127 Fit podcast. Today's guest is a husband, dad, and hunter. Today's guest is James Kircher. James, I want to welcome you to the 127 Fit podcast.
Thank you, Q. Appreciate it you having me.
Absolutely, my man. So we're going to just dive right into a warm-up, James. And the first question that I have for you is, how do you start your day? And is there some sort of morning routine that you like to stick to most mornings?
I would love to tell you that I have this awesome routine that I do every single morning, and that it's without ever changing. It's the same every single day. However, with the dad of a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, most mornings are chaos.
Right.
I would love to be able to wake up every day at the same time. Like 5 o'clock would be ideal. Be able to drink a little bit of water and go bust out a workout. However, usually the way the mornings go is we wake up anywhere between 5 and 6:30, depending on how the night went before with the boys.
Yep.
And then from there, it's getting ready for the day, getting ready to going to work, chasing them down, trying to put clothes on them, trying to get them fed. The one thing that I always try to make sure that I do is I have a gratitude journal that I try and at least write something in.
Absolutely.
Some mornings I don't, but I try to 90% of the time I try to get something in that gratitude journal. Absolutely. First thing in the morning, and that's usually the most routine thing that I do in the morning without with this controlled chaos of being a dad. For sure.
Now, just for the listener's sake, because you've got 2 really young ones. What ages are your boys?
We have a 3.5-year-old and then a 1-year-old. He actually turns 1 on Monday.
Cool. So super young and I'm sure the mornings are intense and can be pretty intense most days, right?
Yeah, and a lot of credit to my wife, because some mornings I have to get up early and go to work, and she gets to handle most of it by herself.
For sure.
But, it's fun. I wouldn't change a thing. It's people who are parents understand. It's frustrating. It takes a lot of patience, but it's fun. And we laugh a lot more than we cry. So.
Cool. Very, very cool. Yep. And for sure, shout out to all the moms out there. So, all right. So, James, you have a favorite book? And if there's more than one, go ahead and share. But is there a favorite book or maybe a book that you like to gift often that you'd like to share with the listeners?
I just finished Relentless by Tim Grover.
Yep.
And I wish I would have found that book. I don't know when it came out, but I wish I would have known about it like 10 years ago. An amazing book, amazing perspective on, your mind and your focus and the way you live your life. I'll definitely be given that as a gift going forward. The next one would probably be David Goggins. I just gifted it, and
Can't Hurt Me.
Can't Hurt Me. Powerful book as well. Just on mindset and controlling your mind, and how your mind will allow you to do whatever you decide that it will allow it to do.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep. For sure.
So I've actually given that as a gift a couple times within the last probably about 6-7 months that it's been out.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Two very impactful books, at least most recently for me, that I really enjoy.
Cool. Yeah. And Tim Grover, for any of the listeners out there that aren't familiar with him, he was Michael Jordan's trainer, kind of personal trainer when he was playing. Then he's also been, I believe, Dwayne Wade's personal trainer, and I think there's one other, Kobe Bryant as well. There we go. Yep. So Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, and I've listened to Tim on a couple podcasts. I think he was on the MFCEO podcast with Andy Frisella, and he's been on some other big ones, but I've listened to him a couple times, and the dude he's a great interview. You know what I mean? It's just a wealth of knowledge. He's seen like the most elite athletes and trained them and been around them and their mindset and their focus, and he's just a wealth of knowledge. And then David Goggins, I think his book just came out in January, but I mean, any listener out there that wants to learn more about mindset and just going above and beyond, just type in YouTube David Goggins, and you'll get all the David Goggins you want. But just for the listeners out there that might be a little sensitive to foul, inappropriate language, David Goggins drops a lot of F-bombs and a lot of other stuff. So just keep that in mind. And I know like David's been on Joe Rogan and all kinds of the big name podcasts as well. But yeah, both those guys are cool dudes. So all right, so James, the third question here is, do you have a favorite quote or mantra? And then again, if there's more than one, feel free to share as many as you'd like.
So I actually heard this one with an interview with James Lawrence, the Iron Cowboy.
Yep.
I can't remember the actual guy who quoted it, but he who has a why to live for can bear almost any how.
Cool.
The first time I heard it, I was like, wait, what? And I don't know, I've probably listened to it a few different times. I don't know, there's just something about it that rings out to me and talks to me.
Right, yeah.
You can whatever you can put your mind to, you can conquer. There's nothing stopping you except you. And that's really what it is, and that's kind of how I looked at it. The other one I recently read from, and again, I don't know if Josh Bridges, the CrossFit athlete, is the one who technically quoted it, but I saw it on one of his pages. But success is rented, or how does it go? Success is leased, and rent is due every single day.
Right. Yeah.
So that was another one that recently that's really got to me. You got to put in the work every single day to accomplish whatever it is, your dreams, your fitness goals, whatever, becoming the best dad you could be, becoming the best husband. You have to work at it every single day.
Amen. So. Yep, for sure, dude. And
you got to pay the man.
Pay the
Josh
man. I know
Bridges
every time I think of Josh Bridges, because I follow him on Instagram. I love that guy. But every time I think of him, I think of pay the man, because that's what he always says. He always says pay the man, or it's like hashtag pay the man, and that's good stuff. And the Iron Cowboy and Josh Bridges, like, you want, again, like, and then we can throw them in with Tim Grover and David Goggins. You're throwing out some good names, my man. That's for sure, because like all four of those guys, it's mindset. You know what I mean?
That's all it is.
Yep, it's
not
mindset.
Not necessarily any
sure.
more gifted than the next guy. They just were willing to push harder than anybody else.
Absolutely.
And they wanted it worse than anybody else.
Yep.
And they weren't going to let anything stop them.
And I think, because that's just kind of the topic that's, been brought up here with the first three questions is that mindset. I think it's important for us to just like touch on that a little bit more, James. So like, reading the book Relentless and Can't Hurt Me and kind of, listening to some of these podcasts and some of these people talk, like the four people we've already talked about, their whole thing is mindset. So for you personally, has some of this literature and listening to some of these guys and following some of these people on Instagram, has there maybe recently just kind of been like a shift for you in regards to that mentality or that mindset?
Yeah. So, kind of going back to when I was younger, I was always relatively a good athlete. I played, any kind of sport, I would play it, and usually excelled at a pretty high level.
Right.
When I was in high school, I had a bad football coach, and I let my mind take control of me, and it caused me to, I didn't perform to the standards that I thought I was capable of, and it kind of stuck with me. And I got these little small NAIA school scholarships, and I thought I was way better than that.
Right.
But realistically, you call a spade, I wasn't, because my mind was not there.
Right, for sure.
And I let that affect me so. I mean, one of those other quotes we were talking about from Salve for Scylla, and we all have regrets. We're all going to have regrets when we die, and my hope is I have as few as possible.
For sure.
But that's been one of them. When I was younger, I didn't have the right mental mindset and ability to control my mind when I was younger to get where I wanted, and that's carried over for the last. I'm 32 years old. Almost 20 years. I've had this bad mental attitude, and I always was blaming other people for my mishaps and what. Right? No, it's my fault
for sure.
And so I started to. I think we'll probably get into it a little bit later, but I got hooked up with a business coach, kind of a success coach, if you will, a few years ago. He's kind of, my wife says, since the moment I've started working with him, my whole mental attitude and focus has changed, and he's kind of changed my way of thinking. And so, I started trying to follow all these different people and understand, like, what is it about them that makes them any more successful than me or the next guy, or and it's all just because they're able to control their mind and control
Absolutely.
Those, as Andy Frisilla talks about it, that bitch voice, that bad voice inside your head that always allows you to do, takes the easy route. And, if you want to be successful and you want to dominate and you want to get somewhere in life, you're going to have to do the hard work.
Absolutely.
You're going to have to do the hard work, and there's no getting around it. And I was looking for the easy ways out. I was looking for the ways to make a quick dollar here and there, and as easy as possible. And but I didn't want to put the work into it.
Right. Yeah.
Because my mind was like, well, let's just take the easy road. Well, so I started backtracking a little bit. So I started the 75 Hard program that Andy Frisilla came up with a month or so ago, and I'm on my second try of it right now, and it's. Some people think it's gimmicky. Some people probably don't understand it, but man, it will change your life.
Absolutely, yeah.
It is incredible the way it makes you feel, and the way it changes your attitude, and it changes the way you look at the world and your time and how valuable it is and how much time you're wasting doing.
For sure,
watching TV, surfing the internet, looking on Instagram, looking on social media, like just wasting so much time, and it puts everything kind of in focus.
Now, for the listeners that don't know, because I'm sure there's probably a lot of them out there. We're just, since we're here, we're just gonna move in that direction. We'll take it from there. But
sure.
For those who aren't familiar with Andy Frisilla, first of all, James, just share a little bit about who he is, and then also explain what 75 Hard is.
Sure. So Andy Frisella is the CEO of First Form, which is the supplement company.
Yeah.
They're based out of St. Louis. Very, very successful entrepreneur. He also has like 5 or 6 other companies that he's part of.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He has the podcast, the MF CEO, which if you don't listen to it, you should. Again, not for the faint-hearted. It's intense.
Yep.
He doesn't hold anything back. He cusses a lot too, but it's impactful.
Absolutely.
Highly impactful.
Yep.
And I started listening to him about a year ago. But and so the 75 Hard program is five simple tasks every single day that you need to do in order to complete what is the 75 Hard challenge. It's a mental toughness challenge. Mm-hmm. It is a mental toughness challenge. There's a physical benefit of it because there's 5 things. So, sorry, jumping all over the place.
Oh, you're fine.
Here.
You're good, man. You're good.
So 5 things every single day that you have to do to complete 75 days in a row to basically change your mindset, to give you self-confidence, to give you self-worth, fortitude, grit, the things you need to do and to traits that you need to have to be successful, because those traits aren't something everybody's born with. In fact, nobody's born with them. They're all just developed through time, right?
Right. Yeah.
So anybody, whoever you are, anybody can develop these traits, and they're damn good ones. Grittiness and self-confidence, which, going back to when I was in high school and stuff, I didn't have either one of those. Mm-hmm. To have the attitude, the strong attitude, and have that self-worth. But the 5 tasks are to work out twice a day, a minimum of 45 minutes each time, and one of those workouts has to be outside.
Perfect.
And it doesn't have to be, you don't need to be grinding out there 2 crazy CrossFit workouts. You don't have to go on 2 45-minute runs. You just have to get your butt out, get your butt outside, do a power walk or a run or a jog or whatever. Or I have a home garage gym, if you will, and I pull my stuff out in the driveway and do a workout sometimes.
Yeah.
But do 2 workouts, 45-minute minimum, twice a day, one of them outside. Choose a diet and stick with it for the 75 days, 0 cheat meals, and 0 alcohol. My wife and I, Melissa just finished her 75 days about a week ago, and
Sweet.
she did it right the first time. I didn't. So I'm on day 64.
Okay.
So I got a few more days left. But we did the Mediterranean diet, and it's been hard. A lot of fruits, lots of vegetables. But you can pick any diet that you want. It doesn't have to be any particular diet, but it has to be a diet, and you have to stick with it for 75 days,
Yep.
0 cheats. Drink a gallon of water a day. Read 10 pages of a book, and it has to be a business, entrepreneurial, self-development type book, something that's going to help you become more successful. And you have to read the book. You can't listen to a book. That's where I screwed up. So I listened to the first 23 days of my original 75 Hard. I listened to a book.
Yeah.
That doesn't count. You have to read. And then the last thing is take a picture, a progress picture every single day.
Okay.
You don't have to post it. You don't have to. You can do whatever you want with those pictures when you're done, but you have to take a picture. All relatively easy tasks. None of them are super hard. But there's been days where I've woken up at like 11 o'clock, luckily, and I didn't take my picture. Those super, like the easiest task, and you forget about it.
Right.
Because it is so easy. But it keeps your mind focused, you're sharp. It changes the way that you plan your day out. You live with a lot more intention and a lot more purpose, because you got to get all this stuff done in the day, and you got to cut a lot of the crap out.
Right.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Cool, man. I appreciate you sharing that, because I also
Yeah,
listened to the MFCO podcast, and I watch Andy Frisella's Instagram stories and stuff, some, I mean, I don't buy into everything that he says, and sometimes he's a little too much for me. But what I respect about him is he tells people straight up. Like, you cannot deny that the dude is just like, he's 100% real. He's going to tell you straight up whether you want to hear it or not. A lot of times it's stuff you don't want to hear. And he doesn't hold back. You know, he does not hold back. I respect that in any individual. So yeah, I'm very familiar with Andy, and I know it was here, I don't know, within the last couple of weeks or something, he was on his stories, and he was just like ripping the people that were doing the 75 hard program because, you know, they were sending him messages, be like, well, can we do it this way? And he's like, you know, I'm not going to use the language he used, but he's like, no, like, quit being idiots. Do it the way that I told you, and otherwise just unfollow me and get out of here is what he says, with, you know, about 50 F-bombs in there. But I respect him because he has been successful in the sense of, you know, building a company from absolutely ground zero, from nothing. And I respect him because he tells it like it is. You know what I mean? And those two qualities to me are super important. You know what I mean? Like, just working hard, starting something from nothing, building it up, and just being straightforward and truthful and real. You know, so that's good stuff. Now, I'm assuming the MFCO podcast, James, is one of your top listens. Is there another podcast or a couple more that you have found a lot of value in, or you really enjoy? There's the Hunting Collective. Ben O'Brien, he's part of the Steve Ranella Meat Eater Inc. But I really enjoy that one from a hunting perspective, going back to the kind of like changing the voice of hunters and people's perception of hunters. He has some really awesome guests from all aspects of the industry, and sharing their stories, and just an overall good. He's a good interviewer. Cool.
Good. Yeah. So those two are kind of my main two. Just for fun, I like the. Oh geez. Here I am trying to pull it up. Mike Rose, the way I heard it, just as a quick one.
The way I heard it?
Yeah, just for fun.
Cool. Good stuff.
Those are kind of the three main ones that I listen to.
Okay.
I enjoy yours too. I've actually been listening to a few of those. Yeah,
thanks, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good stuff.
Yeah, appreciate that. All right, so let's I want to talk a little bit about and dig into kind of like your backstory. You mentioned a little bit about athletics and stuff, but if you don't mind sharing with myself and the listeners, James, kind of where did you grow up, and kind of like what did the childhood look like? And I know before we turned on the mic, you mentioned depression. So if you don't mind, you know, sharing a little bit about that, because for myself personally, since I was about a tween, I'd say about 11, 12, 13 years old, I haven't struggled with depression, but anxiety was something that I struggled with at that time, and even up to this point when we're sitting here, there's just a lot of anxiety in my life, and a lot of that for me personally was caused through athletics. It was like performance anxiety. Like I'd want to be like perfect and do everything right and be the hardest worker, and all of these things would just cause so much angst and anxiety, and just, you know, like nervousness, and there's just this buildup inside of me, and then I would, you know, go play sports or whatever, and I wouldn't perform in the way that I wanted to or expected to, or, you know, not as well as I practiced, all that type of stuff. So where did you grow up? Kind of what was the home environment like? And then if you don't mind sharing a little bit and touching on, because I feel like this is really important and would be impactful for some of the listeners to hear, where did kind of the depression thing come in? Was it when you were younger, or was it maybe longer down the road when you got a little bit older? Let's just start digging into the backstory.
Sure. So, my dad worked for the government in the USGS. So I was born in Colorado. We've lived in Wyoming for a little bit, then moved to Kansas for a little bit when I was all real young, and then moved back here to Colorado.
Okay.
And mostly grew up here in Colorado, kind of the Denver metro area, Littleton area. Home life was, all things considered, it was great. It was good. Had a lot of support from my mom and my dad. Never had to worry about where a meal was coming from, or a roof over my head. There was always a few elephants in the room that we never really talked about, and that's kind of, I guess, getting into the kind of the depression part of it, I don't know if depression, I'm not a doctor or anything, I don't know if it's anything that's necessarily hereditary or whatever, but, my dad definitely suffers from depression, whether he'll ever admit it or not. My mom probably has at some point for a little bit. I started getting really depressed when I was in high school is when it kind of crept up and I started noticing it. And it kind of came in going back to that Sal Frisella. That's Andy's brother, who's he's the president of First Form. But that regret quote. My grandpa was he was a farm boy who grew up in Nebraska, southwest Nebraska. Real tough guy, kind of burly, one of those types.
Yep.
Farm guys. Was one of those guys you didn't necessarily tell him that you loved him. He probably would have been like, okay, thanks.
Probably just would have ignored you, right? Just
yeah, like, okay, thanks, bud. But when I was in high school, his health started to deteriorate. He was a smoker for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
But he started finally trying to clean himself up and stop smoking and kind of started, he'd walk. He lived on a little bit of property with my grandma, and he'd walk around his lot there, and I don't know, I guess I saw the writing on the wall, saw something was going to happen, and a week before he passed away, we were up at their place, and I was like, man, I'm going to tell Grandpa I loved him. I'm going to. This is it. And looked him right in the eyes, gave him a hug, and we always did this silly little handshake thing, him and I, and I never said it. And then a week later, almost to the day, I think, he passed away, and I never got the chance to tell him I loved him. And
right.
It ate me up. It still bothers me today.
Right.
That's another thing, one of those regrets I have in my life. It bothered me. I got depressed about it. And then similarly, with sports, it just slowly started eating away at me, eating away at my attitude and my mindset. And, that was when I was a sophomore in high school. And then going into my junior year, we had coaches. Our football coach changed, and that's when that other coach came in. And I didn't have a good relationship and had that on top of it. And I got depressed
mm-hmm.
and got sad. And luckily I had good support from a couple friends and their family. Some other family stuff happened with my parents not getting along. And yeah, so I got depressed. Then went off to college, went to the University of Wyoming. And it was kind of there, when I was a sophomore in college, the depression came on hard again. And, my grandma passed away. My grandpa's wife passed away. And I don't know if it was her that caused it to creep back. But luckily, again, had a good supporting cast. I had met my wife at that time. She was my girlfriend back then. And, I guess that was the first, I said, I'm going to take control of this. And I guess that was the first small hint of, trying to take control of my mind. And I went to counseling. When you're in school, that stuff was free.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So, met with a counselor for the remaining 3 years I was in college. And It was very impactful and life-changing. And I owe a lot of credit to her because she helped me kind of figure some things out. And, I guess some of the other stuff that caused on the depression was trying to live up to high expectations for my dad. And, my dad, he'll probably never listen to this, but whatever. And if you listen to this, Dad, this is the truth, man. But he's an alcoholic. Yep. Whether he ever wants to admit it or not, he's a high-functioning alcoholic.
Yep.
And that's ate away at me for a long, long time. And that kind of caused on some of the depression and I wanted to change his life. I wanted him to become sober because of me. Well, truth is, ain't nobody going to change him except for him.
Right. Yep.
And I finally was able to come to those terms and deal with my depression, and still have some days or some moments here and there where you kind of still feel depressed, but fitness and hunting and being a dad and being a good husband have really changed that. And so after graduating college and moving back to Colorado and what have you, and having a strong, solid relationship with my wife, and then really connecting back with fitness. It's actually been about 3 years ago is when I got back into fitness. Has really helped a ton.
Right,
people don't understand how much that physical aspect can really. I mean, it changes your overall mood. It changes obviously your physical health, but that's how has significantly changed my outlook on life and just being happy again.
Yeah,
I guess.
Now,
I don't know.
And I James, I just want to touch on the depression thing a little bit more. Like,
sure.
When we, because I mean it's a broad word, and that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So for you specifically, I mean, you talked about some like as you've reflected and looked back, you talked about maybe some trigger experiences or trigger points, however you want to word that, in regards to kind of like with your grandpa, maybe some regrets and some different things with the football coach. But like, so when you talk about being depressed, like what's is it just something that's like going on in your mind, just like kind of this flood of like negative thoughts, or what does it kind of look like for you, and how, what is that experience?
Yeah, it was negative thoughts, negative actions, feeling sorry for myself, like, and being lazy. Right. Definitely wasn't working out when I was, depressed. Well, I guess I was technically working out because I was still trying to be a football player in high school and stuff, but not doing max effort, not giving a lot of effort.
Kind of just going through the motions.
Yeah, just going with the flow. Mm-hmm. Definitely, just kind of going with the flow. I'd spend it got dark. It got dark there for a few years, and some late nights I'd just kind of go off for a drive, and I wonder if I just ran off the road right now. I wonder what would happen, and if anybody would even give it.
So you had suicidal thoughts then?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, in all full transparency with my anxiety and stuff, like I never would have killed myself, but when there was some very dark periods in my life where it's like there were suicidal thoughts where it's like I just get a gun and just shoot myself. So
you think about it, you start adding. I mean, it's a domino effect. You get that negative attitude and mindset inside of you, and it just kind of snowballs.
Absolutely, it does.
And then you kind of you get into those suicidal thoughts, and so that's kind of what I mean. I was just kind of going with the motions. I felt lonely, felt sad. Mm-hmm. But again, I mean, I had good support and a good home life, and a relatively good home life, but good friends whose parents offered great mentorship and were able to kind of help me along when I was still in high school, and then obviously my counselor when I was in college, and my wife's been the greatest thing in my life so far. So
beautiful. All
those things helped for sure, but that's kind of, I mean, I was, again, the snowball effect. I was sad. I felt lonely even though I wasn't. I kind of had, call a spade, man. I had suicidal thoughts. I thought I wasn't, I'm never going to amount to anything. I'm a crappy football player. I'm never going to be anybody famous. All these things. You just start getting that self-doubt and that negative talk inside your head, and it just gets ugly. So that's what it's looked like. Yeah. Okay. I just, because it looks different for different people. So definitely. I just wanted for the listeners out there that are have dealt with anxiety or depression or some different things, you kind of just sharing your perspective of what that depression looked like will have an impact on them. So that's why I just kind of want to dig a little bit deeper. Now, another question, and I think I probably know the answer to it, but just talking about like your grandpa and how he was hard in the sense of just like there wasn't a lot of affection showed, there wasn't a lot of emotions, and like I can relate. I really think
it's a generational thing. It was kind of that, like, even with my mom and dad, like, there was not like, my parents would tell us that they loved us, they would hug us, they would kiss us on the forehead or something, but like, the affection between my mom and dad, it was never there in front of us kids. And like, we never talked about sex, we never talked about anything like that. All of that type of stuff was found out at school. So what I'm trying to get at, I think it's a generational thing. I think we're getting better in our generation. I'll be 32 in July, so we're the same age. I think we're starting to move in the right direction in regards to men, but it's a generational thing. But then also, I think it has a lot to do with where we grew up in the Midwest and stuff too. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And I know you grew up in Colorado, but I'm talking about, like, your grandpa was in Nebraska. I think it's kind of that Midwestern mentality of, like, just work. Maybe retire and vacation and live kind of a good life and then die. You know what I mean? And there's no really emotions. There's just, like, it's just hard work and all of that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So the males that were present in your life in regards to the adults, was that the experience that you had? There was just a lot of kind of, like, just work, kind of that outward hardness, and not a lot of, like, affection and love shown to you, or not per se.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, similar to you.
Yep.
My other grandpa was a lot better at it. Luckily, he's still alive, and we have an amazing relationship.
Cool.
But my parents, not a lot of. When I was younger, I couldn't even tell you I ever saw them kiss. I could never. I don't even remember them hugging or tell them that they loved each other.
Yep.
My mom always said it to us, and my mom's very affectionate, and I'm very grateful for that. My dad was a hard ass, but he was. I definitely, for as hard as he was, he had a soft side, and he'd cry. We'd catch him crying in movies and stuff.
Oh, really? Okay.
So he wasn't, I guess, as hard as you would you think, but and so. But for the most part, there wasn't a lot of affection, for each other. My parents, my grandparents. My grandparents definitely not.
Yeah.
Not a lot of, And everybody enjoyed each other. Everybody liked each other, but there was not that affection. It was just kind of, more like everybody was best friends. Yeah.
And I'm asking this, James, because first of all, I can relate. Yeah. And second of all, do you think maybe let's just say with your own dad, with, like, kind of your depression and some of the things you were struggling with internally when you were younger, did you feel like you could go to him and approach him and share that stuff with him or not? Or did you just hold everything in and just be like, no way will my dad understand or receive or even want to try to work through this with me?
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah, okay.
There was no.
That's what I'm trying to get at, because
there's probably a million other people who feel that. Yeah,
absolutely,
the same thing.
Absolutely, because it's like there's just, again, I grew up in a great home, everything was cool, upper middle class, all this stuff, but there's just certain dynamics. It's nothing against my parents or against your parents or anybody's parents, but I'm moving in a direction in this conversation that we're going to eventually get to, and we're just kind of taking small steps, but I'm building up to it because I want to talk about, kind of this culture that we live in, and again, it's getting better, but it's like, guys have to be like, present themselves a certain way, and it's just, you got to work hard, you got to grind, and you hold everything in. It's like that's nonsense. That's nonsense. It is. Because that's where I think a lot of that holding things in, feelings and emotions, that's where that depression comes on, the anxiety comes on, you hold everything in, then there's like an explosion, and then it's just like emotionally out of control.
Exactly.
And I don't think, I'm not going to say I don't think, I know that is, first of all, not healthy, and second of all, that's not being a true man. Yeah. I believe that we have a masculine side, there's a feminine side, and if we're truly going to be a man, and reach that greatest potential as an individual, as a man. Like, we need to be in touch with the masculine, the feminine, and we need to be able to be open and real and share what's going on in our lives.
Can't be afraid to show a little emotion.
Absolutely, man. Like,
definitely,
emotions are natural.
Exactly.
You know, it's part of life. Now, you know, you can get maybe a little too emotional, but whatever. We're all different. So that's why I'm just asking you some of those questions about your family, about your dad. Because totally I want to kind of keep moving in that direction of being more transparent and stuff as a man. So, okay, with all of that being said, you got done with college or whatever. What did you study in college? What did you get? What was your degree in?
I got a marketing degree from
cool.
the University of Wyoming.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Now, what was kind of the impetus behind the marketing thing? Was it something you were kind of interested in, or was it just kind of like, hey, I gotta get a degree, this sounds good, or what?
Yeah. My dad and I are the only two people in our family who've ever gotten a college degree.
Okay.
And I wanted to get a degree for that because I wanted my dad to be proud of me.
Absolutely, yeah.
And looking back on it, I'd probably pick 100 other different majors before I would have picked that one.
Right.
Back when I was in school, social media was just getting ramped up.
Yep. Facebook was just kicking off when we were in college. Yeah.
Barely started.
Yep.
And so the marketing degree was more like, you know, print, websites. Like, it wasn't this social media type stuff that the world's, you know, that's taking over. So I wanted a business degree. I thought I wanted to go in business. I had a great mentor growing up, and my best friend's dad who was in business.
Right.
And, I was like, well, yeah, maybe someday I want to start my own business. Maybe, you know, there was some movie with Mel Gibson, and he's a big marketing exec. I'm like, oh, yeah, I want to do that. I want to just create these super cool ads and create my own company where we're doing all these cool ads and doing all this cool stuff. And that's why I went the marketing side of it.
Okay, cool.
But college was hard for me.
Okay.
So, I mean, I squeaked by, and I think the only reason I squeaked by was I had one class I had to get I had to get a C in the class to even graduate, to meet the minimum requirement to graduate.
Yeah.
And I spent that entire semester in that professor's office and like asking as many questions and having him help me with every little thing. And I think he just felt sorry for me at the end, and so he passed me because I know I bombed that last final.
Whatever it takes, right?
But hey, it happened. So I graduated and I got the degree.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay. Now I wanna touch on your experience that was kind of, it sounds like a turning point in your life up to this point, and that was the experience with the counselor and being able to kind of open up and share things with, was it a male or female, if you don't mind me asking?
I was a female.
Okay, so opening up and sharing things with her. Now, that experience for you specifically, James, what was so impactful about it? Was it just being able to sit down with an individual that you knew what you were going to share with that individual wasn't going to leave that room, and you were just really able to open up and share kind of everything, get everything that was kind of, I think, pent up inside of you out? Or was it maybe something else?
I think, it was knowing I could go in there with zero judgment.
Yeah.
And no impact. No, that's not the word I'm looking for, but there's no repercussions. I could go in there and talk to her, and we could lay everything out on the table, and she did a great job of kind of, helping directing the conversations, and really, I mean, we went deep, and we went really hard into these conversations, and they were hard, and, you'd get done, and I'd be drenched in sweat, and be, crying and what have you, but I just felt comfortable, talking to her about it, and I'm grateful that she was just willing to listen. I mean, that's her job. But,
of course.
She truly seemed like she cared. And that's kind of all you kind of wanted, was someone you could share these stories with, and someone who would care without any judgment.
Absolutely.
So that's why, I was in a fraternity as well when I was in college, and I tried to reach out to some of my fraternity brothers, and because we all go everybody has their own background and their
Absolutely.
own situations and stories, and I think it was one of my fraternity brothers who was like, dude, you should just go talk to somebody, man. Just go talk to somebody about how you're feeling and what's going on. If you don't like it, then you don't have to keep going.
Right, for
you
sure.
don't owe anybody any money. The only thing they're taking is your time.
Mm-hmm.
You got plenty of that in college. I mean,
Right,
realistically, we all did. So luckily, I went and changed things for the better.
Was it getting everything out that was pent up inside of you? Was it freeing? Did you just feel like you kind of released everything and then you were kind of set free in a sense? Is that kind of the experience that you had?
Yeah, it's kind of all right. Well, that's and then I was able to talk about the stuff. I talked to the stuff with my wife. Again, my girlfriend at the time, Melissa. I was able to hey, I went and talked with my counselor today, and this is what we talked about, and I was less embarrassed about it than I used to be, and I felt able to talk about it, and just able to talk to some of my fraternity brothers about it, and let them know, we all got these crazy backstories, and none of us, we all go through these ups and downs,
100%.
man. Just need someone to listen, and
Yeah.
there's zero judgment. It was freeing. It was just nice to be able to get it out on the table and not have it pent up anymore.
For sure.
And, we did a couple sessions where we pretended like my dad was in the room.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, nope. I was like, well, he's not here. She's like, no, you're going to do it. Pretend that he's here right now. What are you going to say to him? And, I mean, those were probably, we did it a couple times, and those were intense, and they were hard, but it felt so good afterwards. She did this thing with me where she's like, all right, after those really hard sessions, go into the bathroom and wash your hands. You'll feel 100 times better. Like, that's stupid. Okay. But it was like you were washing away all that crap that's been built up inside of you. Wow. So, yeah.
Cool. Now, before we move on into some other stuff, if a dad is listening to this, if a young man is listening to this, and maybe the dad has a son, or the son or the young man is really resonating, James, with what you're sharing, and maybe has gone through some similar things or is going through some similar things as you. What's one or two things that you could share with the guys out there in regards to maybe going through some depression, anxiety? What would you suggest they do right away to just kind of move in a more positive direction?
One is stop worrying about being judged.
Okay, cool.
Honestly, pardon my language, but nobody gives a shit. The only person who's the hardest judger is gonna be yourself. But don't worry about what other people are gonna think of you. You technically don't even have to tell anybody about it, except if you're the dad, be open to your kid, whether it's a son or a daughter. And just listen. All they want is somebody to talk to and be able to listen. And don't try to fix it. Don't try to offer your 2 cents. Just listen. If you're a dad and you need somebody to talk to, man, you can reach out to me. I'll listen. But go to a counselor. I mean, counselors, they cost money, but it's probably worth every cent that you spend. Or if you can't afford it, then find someone you really trust and just talk to them.
Absolutely.
And
cool.
Start the conversation with, I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen, and just dump it out on them.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. So we're gonna move on to some different things, but honestly thanks for sharing that stuff, because
definitely.
That's the type of stuff that we can all relate to, and that's the type of stuff that can really positively impact people that are listening. You know what I mean? Just that raw, real, this is me, here I am, and like you said earlier, we're all imperfect. None of us are perfect, and we've all got issues. We all go through different things, and we need each other to make it through. So that's good stuff, James. Now I want to kind of just start talking a little bit, and we've already been going for almost 50 minutes, which is crazy. But wow. I want to talk about the hunting aspect of your life, because the thing that I read in the opening, kind of to introduce you, it was a post that I took off of your personal Instagram. And on your Instagram, you call you have yourself label or call yourself, which you are, husband, dad, and then hunter is on there as well. So obviously, below the husband and dad aspect of who you are in your life, hunting is super, super important.
Yes.
So how did you get exposed to hunting? When did you start getting into it? And just what does hunting mean to you? Kind of just take it and run with it.
Okay.
For on your end of things.
Yeah, so despite all the crazy depression stuff that happened in my childhood, my dad and my grandpa were both huge hunters, and I got into hunting when I was real little. We lived in Kansas at the time, and I went dove hunting for the first time when I was in kindergarten, probably first grade. Younger than I was technically supposed to be hunting, but got into it, and it was a night, when my dad and I, despite all the other crap that was going on in life, throughout high school and everything, we always had hunting to go back to, and it was something that we both enjoyed, and it was like nothing else was around us but except for hunting. So all the other crap that was going on was always just in the back of our minds. We were focused on hunting, and that was that. And it was a nice way to bond a little bit better, a little bit closer, and a way to be outside and enjoy nature and see things that most people don't even know it happens or exists. You have to be quiet when you're hunting. You have to be alert and aware, and you see, you have to be up most of the time. You're up early, and you're up, and then you're up late. So you see these amazing sunrises and these gorgeous sunsets, and you see these animals and the way they act and behave in nature. And one of my favorite feelings in the world, and some people probably have felt this before, but when you're hunting and this usually happens in the mountains, but there's a moment where the wind stops blowing, the birds stop chirping, and it's literally so quiet in the middle of this forest that your ears ring because they don't know what else. Like, it's that quiet.
Wow. And
your ears start ringing because I don't know if there's any kind of science behind it, but I'm sure they start ringing because they're like, I don't hear anything. What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
But getting back, so as a child, man, I was the first time that happened to me was one of the first times I went big game hunting, elk hunting with my dad up in the mountains, and I was just blown away by that feeling. But yeah, you see so many cool things, and you see parts of nature, because you're for the most part a little bit off the beaten trail, kind of bushwhacking through hunting, and you see parts of the world that I would like to think that no one else has ever seen before, and so it was just this kind of draw towards me that, man, I'm outside, I'm hunting, I'm going after this animal that's actually going to help provide me some food and some nutrition to my body and to my health. And so that's kind of how I got into it when I was real young. When I was real little, it was just a way for my dad and I to kind of bond and have some fun, and then it's slowly evolved into that. But and I hunt everything you can think of, everything from I still go dove hunting, upland game, pheasant, quail, turkey, antelope, deer, elk. If I could draw a moose license, I go moose hunting, bear. So, and have made some amazing relationships with some amazing people through hunting, and it's just a way I feel. Man, it's hard to explain. Everybody has their why when hunting, but my why is I get to be in nature. I get to stalk and pursue this animal that's going to feed my family, and I don't hunt just for the trophies, for the horns. Man, I could care less what size horns and
right.
what have you are, but I care about the nutrition and ethically taking this animal away from its life, and providing for my family, and Yeah.
So I mean, it's, and I've heard again, like I told you before we turned on the microphone, like hunting. I've been around it because I grew up in Iowa and lived in South Dakota and had friends and stuff that are like, that's their jam or whatever. But I have no desire to hunt. I shot a bird out of a tree when I was a little kid with a BB gun and started crying because it's just not in me, man.
Sure.
But for a lot of people, a lot of I think, guys specifically, it's natural because I mean, if you take us back generations, like we were out hunting, gathering. That was the dude. That's what the dudes did. I think it's there's some sort of expression for us now when you go out and you're stalking the game and killing it. I mean, it's ancestral, right?
Yeah, it's in your blood.
Yeah, for sure.
It's in your blood, and it's when I was younger, people have such a negative. A lot of people do, not everybody, but a negative perception of hunters.
Yeah.
And Hollywood's done a great job of enforcing that with. There was a Netflix movie with Josh Brolin on there a while back about it, but these redneck, goofy SOBs in their big old fancy trucks shooting guns out the window. All they care about is the biggest, the
Right.
deer with the biggest antlers or the elk with the biggest rack or And I think for a majority of us, that's necessarily not the case. And the trophy hunters, the guys with all the money who are able to go on these crazy awesome safaris or go up to Alaska and go on these crazy hunts. But for the majority of us, we don't have that money. We don't have that luxury. And we're not a bunch of redneck idiots. We're just guys who enjoy being in nature and we like the way the game tastes. That's the best part about it, and we want to provide for our family, and we want to feed that ancestral urge inside of us to go hunting.
Absolutely.
and provide for our family. And I can honestly say it's probably been a good 8 to 10 years since I've bought hamburger at the store.
Yep.
And I'm proud of that.
Absolutely, you should be.
And
yeah.
Because I know exactly where my animals have come from. I know what they were eating when they died. I know where they were at when they died, and I know what happened to them once they died. And I take a great deal of pride in that process.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger, I was a little bit dumb and a lot of it dumb, and there was definitely times where I was a little bit of that redneck dipshit, shooting guns out the window, whatever, right? But as I've gotten older and gotten smarter and what have you, like I don't want anybody to think like I think I'm somebody special. I mean, I was that young and dumb person. I was an idiot. I was dumb, and I did those stupid things. I didn't show respect for the game, but as I've gotten older, man, you're taking the life of a creature.
Mm-hmm.
You should respect that, and that's kind of where
Absolutely.
this fitness aspect kind of comes into it. And the Cameron Hayes and the Adam Greentrees and Steve Ranellas and Randy Newbergs, you name it, man. Those guys are in relatively good shape still, right? Well, yeah. Cameron Hayes is like almost 50. The dude's running ultra marathons.
Yeah, he's a beast, man.
But we owe it to those animals. Like he says it best, man. We owe it to those animals to be in the best shape possible, because we're gonna, eventually take their life. But we owe it to them because hauling an elk out of the mountains, man, you're almost a ton, an animal that weighs almost a ton, and you're hauling out, 200 to 400 pounds
Mm-hmm.
per quarter of that animal or whatever. And you got to be in shape. That crap ain't easy, man.
Right.
And just to get back there where the elk are, man, you got to be in shape to do that.
For sure, yeah.
And that's kind of, I guess, my dad's been a motivator in that sense, because he's, look at the same build as me, about 6 foot, but he weighs probably about 250, 260,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all unhealthy. And so
Yeah.
that's been one of the bigger motivators for me in the last few years when I got really into my fitness. Is I realized, man, I love hunting so much. I need to make sure I'm in the best shape that I can be, so that I can have the best odds, show that game some respect by taking care of it and prepping it once that I do make the harvest.
For sure.
I owe it to them.
Yep.
So
now, you mentioned fitness and you've mentioned like Cameron Haynes and me not being any type of a hunter type person. I have come across Cameron Haynes and have been intrigued by him because of the fitness and his perspective of kind of like what you're talking about, why he makes sure that his fitness is on point, and I know there was a workout with him and David Goggins and just kind of all this different stuff. But what type of fitness have you found works best for you as a hunter and being able to perform when you are out there going after the game to provide for your family?
I've tried a few different things, but what works best for me is kind of the CrossFit, the functional fitness.
Okay.
When I graduated college, I got into a CrossFit gym and just loved it. My body responds well to it. I feel like I'm better shape at 32 than I've ever been in my entire life.
Awesome.
Doing that, I've done it. Oh, well, this year I've gotten really into it. So this last 6 months, I've really gotten back into it. I kind of stopped for a number of years and was just kind of doing little stuff here and there. I did like the P90X thing for a while, and then never seemed to fit me and my goals. And then, I like the high intensity stuff. So I did that a couple of years ago, but I still never felt like I was in the best shape I always get up to the mountains and you get going, and man, that mountain, you can't, a group I support, you can't cheat the mountain, man.
Right.
You can't take the easy road when it comes to the mountain, because
like
will eat you up and spit you out and make you wish to God you would have done something different. So I don't think you're ever in shape enough to be, unless you actually live in the mountains, I don't think there's anything you can really do to be that prepared. I mean, You can be more prepared, but this time of year I'll probably start working on getting a little bit more mass, but also adding in a bunch of running miles. And then closer, probably at the end of July, I'll start loading up a backpack with some weight and just getting my body used to hiking hills and used to the extra weight for hunting season.
Cool. Because I know, with Cameron Haynes, speaking of him and the kind of the workout that I saw him and David Goggins do, they were like in a Globo gym, like just a normal, kind of Gold's Gym type setting. And from some of the stuff I've seen Cameron Haynes do, like he's doing the bicep curls and all that stuff. Now with the David Goggins workout and him, it was obviously going to be high intensity, and I think it was more of a circuit thing. But I mean, they were just in it wasn't a Gold's Gym, but a gym like a Gold's Gym, or a 24-hour fitness, just a Globo gym, and they were doing curls and incline presses and stuff. So I mean, there's a lot of ways to have that physical preparedness. It's just all about it goes back to what you're fueling yourself with, the food you're putting in your body. But in regards to the fitness and the workouts, it's about intensity and just kind of finding what works best for you. That's what it really all goes back to. Like CrossFit's great for some people, CrossFit's not great for other people, or functional fitness, however you want to word it. Find what works best for you and what you're trying to accomplish in your life, and that's nutrition wise and fitness wise, and just be consistent, and you'll be good to go, right?
Yeah, exactly. I kind of jumping back a little bit. I made every excuse possible not to go to the gym 6-7 years ago. Man, I couldn't afford it at the time to go to a CrossFit gym.
Right.
Well,
they're definitely not cheap.
No, so I couldn't afford it at the time.
Yeah.
And so I can't go to the regular, the 24-hour fitness type stuff. I can't go there because they don't have the equipment I want.
Right.
Really, honestly, everybody, just do what makes you feel good and makes you happy.
Yep.
If you like to run, go run. If you like to do CrossFit, figure it out. I mean, I finally I'm not part of a CrossFit gym still, but I turned my garage into a CrossFit.
Yep.
Home garage gym.
Josh Bridges style, right?
Yeah, Josh Bridges style. He has a little cooler, cooler
he's got.
equipment.
Well, he's Rogue, sponsored by Rogue, so he's got it made, but it's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
It's cool
hey,
stuff.
Josh, or hey, Rogue, if you guys need
there
a
you
sponsor,
go. Right? Get a hold of James.
But do what makes you feel good. And there's some awesome companies that have been coming out with that are more geared, trying to get people geared for hunting. And programs around that, and they do have awesome programs and great things, and I've done one of them, but I didn't like it. So why do something that you don't like?
Exactly.
If you like something, do it, man. Especially when it comes to your health and your fitness. That's what's cool about that 75 hard thing, man. Do the fitness part of it and the diet part of it. Do something that you like in terms of your food and then your workout. In your everyday life, you don't even have to be doing a challenge for
right.
Just do what makes you feel good and makes you happy.
Absolutely.
Get your butt off the couch and just, if it makes you happy to do high knees for an hour, just do that. Whatever it is.
Yep. Consistency.
Because your mind, not your body, but your mind will make every excuse for you to not do whatever
Absolutely.
it is.
Yep.
That's what I was trying to get to by. I'd make every excuse not to go to the gym because I couldn't go to a regular old gym because it didn't have the CrossFit stuff I needed.
Right.
No, I was just being stupid and lazy.
Right. Yep.
I don't necessarily, I didn't have to at that time be doing the CrossFits the workouts exactly the same. I could have used those gyms and done exactly what I needed to stay fit, but I was lazy. Mm-hmm. And I let my mind control me and tell me, oh, I can't go to the gym because of this. They don't have that,
Right. Okay, so
Sorry.
you're good, man. You're good. We're gonna start moving towards the end and wrapping things up, but there's still a few things I want to kind of touch on here. Now, kind of in the beginning of our conversation, James, you talked about, I think here recently you kind of got like a life coach or a business type coach. Is that correct? If I remember right?
Yes, sir.
Is it a life coach, business coach, or kind of all in
more of a business coach?
Okay.
Business
coach. And you said, if I remember right, that your wife has told you ever since you hired this coach that you kind of your mentality, your mindset, and everything has kind of changed for you in a positive sense. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so there's an interesting correlation because there was a turning point in your life when you were in college and you had this counselor, and you can look at it as a counselor, as a coach, kind of interchangeable, you know what I mean? And then now, being 32 years old, you've hired this coach and have somebody else kind of in that counselor setting in your life. And, with what your wife said and what you said earlier, there's kind of been another shift. So there seems to be some correlation where it's like, when you kind of take that step outside of maybe your comfort zone and, kind of invite somebody into your life that can maybe help you, or you can kind of share things with, there's a huge positive maybe shift or growth in your life. Yeah. So with the current situation with this kind of business life coach person, what has that done for you, and kind of why did you pursue that individual or somebody like this individual to be a part of your life?
So it kind of happened by chance, but I was a brand new dad at the time with my first son, and finally kind of becoming a dad's been this, besides meeting my wife and marrying her, been the greatest thing that has ever happened to me.
Right.
And the second I found out I was going to be a dad, and after the second he was born, I'm like, I got to change my life. And something inside of me just clicked, and I was like, I got to, it's time to go. And through my actual financial advisor, was able to hook me up with this coach, and then I was looking to better my life at that time.
Yeah.
3 years ago, and I knew at some point maybe I want to go into business for myself, or maybe I just want to get connected with great individuals who are doing good things. This guy seems like So I met with him, and almost 3 years ago, and I haven't looked back.
Okay,
and
cool.
The last 3 years have just been, greatest 3 years of my life for sure.
Now,
and
this individual, is it kind of similar to the counselor in college where you're able just to kind of open up and share things, or is it completely different?
It's definitely. I mean, we talk a little bit, just about random things, but it's more business oriented and mindset oriented.
Okay, yeah.
Here's the traits that you need to be successful in life, and the mindset and the attitude to grow a business.
Okay.
And less of just dumping all the crap that's building up inside of me, with the counselor.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then through all that, his name's Bill Roth. Anybody looking in the Denver metro area, Basics is his program, and I highly, highly recommend him. He's a former, he's ran a few different companies, was part of the Denver Gold, the AFL team when it was, back in the 80s. Was their general manager. Cool guy. Okay. Has an amazing story himself. But, through him, I've gotten connected with amazing people. There's a spin-off of his program that's for more it's a smaller group of individuals who kind of like a mastermind group, and I'm part of that. Joined that this year, and completely changing my mindset and how I view the world and how I want to live the rest of my life and the type of people I want to bring into my life, because it makes a huge difference, man. Anybody listening, you don't realize it until it happens, but surrounding yourself with positive people and good people, man, it has such a great impact on it. And luckily, my wife has always been a great impact, but my friends and some people around me, I just didn't have the right people in place. But her, and then one of my hunting buddies, who's always been a great friend of mine, throw a shout out to him, Matt. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. I'm rambling now, but through that, man, through the Basics program, and just being able to change my mindset, and so through that, gotten into the MFCEO podcast and reading more books, and those self-development books, the David Goggins, and the Jocko's, and Andy Frisilla, and Ed Milet, and super impactful.
You're hitting all the guys that I love too, man. Yeah,
and it's amazing how just surrounded. Even you don't necessarily know these people. You don't know them personally. You've never met them, but you kind of feel like you know them, and they change your life.
Yeah, for sure. And
you wish you could meet them just so you could just shake their hand and give them a hug and say, thanks for changing my life.
Absolutely.
And so through Bill, that's happened.
Cool.
So
it's the change has been your mindset. I mean,
that's my attitude and my mindset, man.
Yeah,
and it's all starts with your mind. That
absolutely,
6-pound muscle between your ears, man. That's where it all comes from. And knowing, that, and then becoming a dad, man. I knew I didn't want to be my dad.
Yeah.
I wanted to be me.
Absolutely.
And I guess to close, man, the greatest compliment, my greatest quest in life is just to be a dad. Mm-hmm. I had my previous position at my company, I had 7 days off. I had 7 days on, 7 days off. And so for the first 2 years of my son's life, for 4 of those 7 days I was off, man, it was just him and I. Mm-hmm. And this bond we had together, and we'd go, and we'd do everything together. And the greatest compliment I've ever received at this point in my life, and I didn't think it was going to get me worked up, but was at a Jack's Sporting Goods, actually looking at hunting goods, and just being silly, man. I just want to have fun with my boys, and make them smile, make them happy, and make them strong men in this world. But just laughing, being silly. And this lady came up to me and she said, "Wow, that's awesome." And I was like, "This equipment? Yeah, that's pretty cool." Like, what? She goes, "No, you're a great dad." And I was like, "Whoa, what?"
That's powerful,
man. And to this day, man, that's what I live for.
Yeah.
I just want everybody to be, if you see me in the grocery store and you're a dad and you see me, interacting with my kids, I want you to be like, "Oh man, that's how I want to act with my kids."
That's powerful, man.
So, yeah,
Cool.
Yeah. So
all right.
and be a name for hunting and change the way people think of hunting. So those two things, being a great dad and being a hunt.
So I want to. You talked about your sons, but you've mentioned your wife a lot, and she's been a very positive, impactful person in your life. It sounds like. So just before we get into the last question, I want to give you an opportunity. You've mentioned her, but just what is that relationship for you met, and how has she just really been that strong presence in your life?
I got lucky. I say it every day, man. I got lucky with her. Mm-hmm. I met her when I was in college, my second semester freshman year, and from the second I saw her, I go, holy crap. She's she's awesome. She came up to me and introduced herself, and I swear to God, I don't even remember. I don't think I even got a word out. I just because I was Cupid struck me with an arrow. And I knew from that day on, I was like, that's the girl I'm going to marry. And it's not been easy at times. It's been hard. We've been at situations where we've had very little money. We've had moments where we've had, we felt financially stable, and we've been together for 13 years, married almost 9 years.
It's a long time, yeah.
And she's, I don't know how to, she leaves me speechless, honestly. She's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. Has always been there for me, and she's kind of the female version of Andy Frisilla, if you will.
There you go.
In that
straight shooter, huh?
She is straight shooter. She doesn't put up with bullshit. She's gonna, and that's why I guess I love her, and that's why, why I like Andy Frisilla so much. But don't worry, Andy, I don't swing that way. But she's not afraid to tell me my business, and she'll get up in my face and tell me when I'm wrong, and she pushes me to become a better man and a better dad, and she tells me the things that I need to hear that I don't necessarily want to hear.
Right, yeah.
And that's people out there, if you're in a relationship, like, make sure that you find someone that's that way.
Cool.
And then supports your crazy hunting habits, because that's expensive and time consuming, and sometimes she doesn't. Well, she never understands, but so
she doesn't, but she does. So.
She doesn't, but she does, because she knows if I don't get to go hunting, then I turn into a monster myself. But
cool, man. All right, so last question, and we're gonna bring the plane in for a landing. What sets your soul on fire, James?
Kind of like what I said earlier. I wish I had something. Well, actually, I don't wish. My being a great dad is what sets my soul on fire, and hunting sets my soul on fire. Being a good husband. So those three things, I guess.
Cool.
Like it says in my Instagram, I'm a husband first, I'm a dad second, and I'm a husband third. And those things in that order are what sets my soul on fire. Is to be supportive and trusting and loving husband, and being a dad that is supportive, is there for my boys, and teaches them about confidence and self-worth, and how to be a productive member of society, and how to be a man, like not, kind of like you were talking earlier, being able to understand your emotions and not being afraid to show your emotions, but also being a man who stands up for what he believes in, and takes care of people, and pushes his friends to become better people, right?
For sure.
And then be a hunter, a name for hunting, and a voice for hunting. That we're great people who just want to provide for our family and have this inner desire in our blood to hunt. And we're not out there just wanting to kill things. We're wanting to harvest things, as I like to call it.
For sure. Harvest
them and provide for our family, and eat amazing organic meat, and provide for our family, and be outside. So those, and
okay, cool, man.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's what sets your soul on fire. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Now, before I finish off with a couple things here, James, if somebody wants to reach out to you, they want to talk to you, what have you, where's the best way that they can find you and communicate with you and connect with you?
Yeah, on Instagram probably is where you can find me the best.
Okay.
Pursuit to Rome, pursuit.to.Rome, like
Okay.
a buffalo roams, ROAM. And then pursuit to Rome at gmail.com is the email. Again, pursuit.to.Rome. Come check me out. Love to talk with anybody. I enjoy talking with people. I enjoy sharing my story. Love to hear people. If I can help anybody
Absolutely.
in any way, that's what we're all here for. We all need to help pick each other up and push each other forward.
It's a team effort.
Amen.
That's when you get that mindset that life is a team effort and we need everybody. We need to be helping each other and serving each other and loving each other. Like that's when some powerful doors are gonna blow open for you. Because it is. That's what it's about, man. It's teamwork. It's a team effort. We need each other. We're all beautiful in our own way, and we all have gifts, talents, and abilities that we need to be putting out into the world to positively impact the world. So cool.
Amen.
All right. Well,
awesome.
James, thank you very much for your time today, man. Thank you for your transparency and just being open and real and sharing some of that stuff that maybe probably isn't shared every single day in your life. But I really appreciate you opening up, and I know people will be impacted by our conversation today. So thanks for hanging out with me, man.
Thanks for having me, Q. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, for sure, man. So listeners, I just want to thank you again for tuning in to the 127 Fit podcast. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram. It's at 127 Fitness, Facebook at Quentin Vars. And for those of you that are listening to the podcast through the like iTunes or the iPhone app, please leave a 5-star review. That really helps people just come across the podcast more, gets more listeners, things of that nature. So just make sure if you're finding value in the podcast and the guests I'm bringing on, leave that 5-star review. That would just be greatly appreciated. If you think you would be a great guest, or you have a friend or an acquaintance or something of that nature you think would be a great guest or guest for the podcast, just reach out to me through email, and that is 127fit@gmail.com. And again, if you're finding value in the podcast, whatever episode or episodes you're enjoying, if you would just share those on your like Instagram stories, Facebook stories, and then just use the hashtag #BeSomeoneToFollow. That would be great. That would just help other people within this community be able to find, the podcast more and things of that nature. And then, per the usual, I will leave you guys with Proverbs 24:10, which states, "If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small." This time, until next time, I will catch you guys later.